Hi, my name is Mamie Rheingold, and I will be your host for this issue of Google Developers Live. And today we're focusing on DIY.org. And DIY.org is a site and a community where kids can learn new skills and share what they've learned. And each member gets a portfolio where they can show off all the skills that they've learned. Everything from like beekeeping and dancing to astronomy and filmmaking and rapid prototyping. And today I am joined by 4 different DIYers from around the world, all tuning in through Google Hangout. And they've all earned programming related badges. So we want to learn more about how they learn to program and how people like you guys can help. So, first, I want to turn it over to Diana from DIY to tell us a little bit more about DIY.
Yeah, so DIY, as you said, is an online community for kids to learn different skills. And what's really awesome about it is that we see this sort of community sort of dynamically growing by themselves. Kids are basically teaching themselves these skills and collaborating with other members in their variety communities in ways of through creating their own websites or starting DIY newspapers and collaborating with one another to complete projects and earn skills that they've sometimes never even heard of before.
Cool. And so let's turn it over to the DIYers themselves. I'd love for you guys to each introduce yourself.
I'll start then. Hi, my name's Zach. I'm a DIYer both like on the site, and I also work for DIY. So I think that's cool. So I'm 16. My favorite programming skill, I mean, I've done a lot of them, just kind of testing them when working, but definitely like the front-end developer and back-end developer. Those are like kind of my favorites. Of my non-programmer ones, you know, variety and all that, the photographer one is one that's really fun to do.
Great. Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm 8 years old, and my favorite DIY skill that's not related to programming is meme hacker.
Meme hacker? Do you know what kind of programming do you know?
I program mostly in Python.
Cool. Awesome.
Also HTML.
Oh man, front end and back end. Cool. Eli, will you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Eli Cujo, and I'm on DIY and stuff. And I really like the open sourcer DIY skill because I really like the whole community aspect of coding and stuff like that. And DIY as an open source community has helped me as well as other open source. So open source is a very good learning resource for me, and it helped me learn a lot of stuff about coding. And then my other skill that I like that's not part of coding is the ornithologist skill. I really like that skill. It's about birds and stuff. I really like birds and bird watching, nature and stuff. So yeah.
Nice. And last but not least, Ginny, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ginny. I'm 11 years old, and I've earned noob. I think that's about it. But my favorite skill that isn't programming is animator.
Whoa, cool. That's awesome. You guys have done so many things. I love it. So just to learn a little bit more about DIY and why you guys love it so much, Eli, will you share with us your favorite thing about DIY?
My favorite thing about DIY is that it's, as I said before, that it's like an open community that you could learn so many things from other people. Like you could teach other people things. There's no it's like a learning experience as well as a fun one. It's like a lot of times experiences can be educational and fun, but one is higher than the other. But I like how DIY is exactly 50%. It's really nice how you learn a lot and you also have tons of fun at the same time. It's very I like it a lot. That's my favorite thing, the education and the fun balance.
Yeah. And it seems super collaborative too. I noticed you can comment on projects and fork projects.
Yeah, it's really there's lots of you don't just post something and then it's just there. People you could comment on it and fork it, which means that people, if they have the same idea as you, they can they could share it with you, and they can show their idea like as well as yours. And then there's like favoriting, and then there's like you can get featured as well, which is like you're featured on the home page, and it's like it's really like it's like a community. It's a very nice. It's like a community. Yeah.
Cool. And since we want to learn more about how you guys started to learn programming, Ginny, tell us more. So you've earned the noob badge. So why did you start? Why did you decide to earn that skill?
Well, 3 days after Christmas, I dropped all my Christmas presents and went and followed this link from the noob skill, which was to MIT's programming website, Scratch.
Oh,
it's a
cool.
Programming website for kids. It really got me started, and then I got into Khan Academy after that, and from there I learned JavaScript, and I'm getting a little bit into HTML. I'm really interested in that.
This is all since Christmas?
Yes.
Whoa!
Not since this Christmas.
Okay, I was gonna say that would be a crazy speed. That's awesome. So you've been coding for like a year now?
Yes.
Really cool. And so Zoe, you're 8, and I've heard that you've known that you have wanted to be a programmer since you were 5. So I'd love to learn more about like what inspired you to want to become a programmer, and what do you want to do with these skills when you grow up?
Well, my parents introduced me to Khan Academy, and my favorite part of that was the coding. So then she introduced me to another website for coding, and then I started learning Python from a book.
Whoa, cool. Have you made anything with Python or any of the code that you've learned?
Not much yet, though.
Okay, we've got an early start. Feel good about your future as a programmer. Got a lot of years ahead of you. And Zach, so you're here, and you've actually grown up to be a programmer as a teenager. So I want to hear more about that. Like, what's it like to actually be a programmer for DIY? And you're still in high school, right?
Yeah, in high school. I mean, it's good. I mean, yeah, I've always been kind of a fan of like teenagers getting out and doing more than, the average part-time job, which I guess is what has led me like to DIY. And so I started about a year and a half ago, I guess. And it's like, I mean, when I started, I definitely was not that good. I mean, thought I was, but hey. Yeah, it's just been like a really great ride. I mean, like all the people I work with are great, and they're great at mentoring and just overall good people. And I've learned so much, and I've done I've got to speak, and I've got to do so many things because of programming, which I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your project later on. Cool. And so when you're just starting. So I want to learn more about how you guys actually learned how to program. So Ginny, will you start to tell us about how you learned? You mentioned Scratch and Khan Academy earlier.
Well, I just went into Scratch, followed some of their tutorials. And soon I was figuring a lot of things out on my own. My first project was just this picture of a ninja, and if you press different buttons on the keyboard, then he would change poses.
Nice. Fighting ninja.
From there, I progressed so much in the first couple weeks, and I just took off, and I was making a lot of things from generators to platformers.
Cool. And Eli, will you share with us more about how you started to learn how to program?
When I was younger, when I was 8, I started I got into I read a lot, and I really wanted to start a website because about book reviews. It was sort of like a dream or whatever. And then like I researched a little bit and I figured out that I could actually do this somehow. And I used a couple of like small software, and I used HTML mostly, and I sort of like started creating my website. Like at first it started out with just like a blank background and then like a couple bodies of text, but then eventually as I learned more and more through the internet, like my website progressed. Of course, it's not published or anything because it was just sort of like a page thing. It wasn't like on the internet, but it was like that's how I got into coding, was by like I wanted to have this website, and I researched and I just found out that it's actually possible.
Cool. And then how have you progressed through your learning through DIY?
Oh, well, with DIY, like as I said before, like I just knew like it just HTML, like just the basics. But then when I went on DIY, like the skills like back-end dev and front-end dev introduced me to other types of code and how those codes work, like Raptor, how it's like back-end dev and stuff, and CSS, and that really helps with like spicing up my HTML and stuff. Like there's not like I learned different codes that could help me out through my website making and like other stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. And so most of our listeners are grown-ups, and so I want them to walk away knowing how they can go help kids like you to program. So, Zoe, have there been any adults that have helped you along the way, and anything that made it super helpful or not helpful for you to learn how to program?
Yes, my dad has helped me with Python and, taught me how to, like, make it so you can, like, it asks you a question, you can type an answer, and it'll give you a result.
Cool. Yeah, it's so magical when it actually responds. Is there anything that your dad has done that's made it easier to learn how to code?
Well, he gave me the book about Python.
Super helpful. What book is that?
It's Python for Kids.
Ah, cool. Sounds like an appropriate book for you. Cool. Awesome. I would love to actually see a demo. So, Zach, will you share the coolest thing that you've created with code?
Yeah, totally. So, let me just pull it up. So, this was kind of started off as a joke project. It's called Doge Script. So, if you've ever seen the Doge meme on the internet, which, quickly becoming very overused, but it's still funny, I kind of started this as a joke. Basically, I was like, what if there was a programming language that was based on the Doge meme and it would compile to JavaScript, like how all of this, CoffeeScript and TypeScript. And so I kind of did it one night as a joke, and then this is what happened. A lot of people started contributing, and I posted it. Well, someone else had posted it on Hacker News, and it just kind of blew up. So a lot of people found it, and it became this. Well, like so many people were really into it, and it's just cool. It's on GitHub, so like open source MIT license, and people they've contributed so many things from pull requests, and I mean there's 15 contributors for what's completely a joke language, but it's like a joke language, but at the same time it's you could actually program things, and people have, which is really funny to see.
The beauty of the internet. Love it. And the wowzer. It's great. Cool. Well, this has been super fun for me. Before we sign off, is there any last advice anyone wants to share to the Google developers out there that are tuning in?
I would say when you're trying to get kids and teenagers interested, don't over force it on them. So many people try to really force it. It's if a kid or teenager doesn't like it, they don't like it, and move on to something else they're passionate about. That's kind of the biggest advice I can give. I mean, that's for anything, but really for programming, it's definitely true.
Yeah, love that. And go help kids learn what they're passionate about. Thank you guys. This has been super fun. And Google developers out there, I hope you've been inspired by these young kids who already know how to code, and you're excited about going out and helping more kids in your community learn how to code. There were some great resources that they mentioned, and also remember to check out DIY.org.